Welcome back to the UFC Vegas 56 Quick Picks 3v3 DraftKings show where me and Big Marley each take three fighters for this week's Rozenstruik versus Volkov card on DraftKings and see who does best. Marley, you ready to do this thing?
I am. Let's do it.
All right. All right, it's Geek, it's Marley, and we're talking UFC Vegas 56, Rozenstruik versus Volkov. And we're each going to pick three fighters on DraftKings, fantasy picks. Little 3v3. One favorite, one underdog, one middling salary.
Now just two favorites and a one underdog.
We're going as favorite as we want?
Yeah. Well, just
right,
one
even better.
favorite, one
Making
underdog,
it
whatever
easy.
the hell you want for the third.
You're making it easy for me, Big Marley. But before we move on to this week's card, let's see, how did we do last week? Who are our picks? How did we do?
So yeah, last week was our first week doing it. We both only had one win in our lineups, but my losses scored more points. You had, oh wait, I went first, so I had Almeida with my first pick. He dominated, scored like 113 or something like that. I ended up taking Holm with my second pick. She lost, but she scored like 73 points. So just the two of them is all I needed, and I had you covered. But then I had Viana as my underdog. She scored like 29 points or something like that. Ended up losing. So I totaled 221.45 points. And then you were just dead out of the gates with Amadovsky pretty much scoring 0 points as your underdog. And then you had Omar Morales, who I was high on also, and he lost.
Yeah, he was
probably
a real
only scored 20 or so. And then your win was Chidi Njokuani, who looked great, got 100-something points. So you scored 121.7. I won by slightly under 100 points. But since I went first last week, you go first this week.
No.
You can pick the favorite or underdog, however you want to do it.
I'm going more cashy this week. So I took Elena Amandovsky last week thinking, let's take some GPP upside plays. But that don't deliver wins in the 3v3, and I like winning. I like winning.
I like my 100% win rate so far.
I do. That's going to be gone after this week. I'm starting out. All right, so let's take a look at the DraftKings screen here. And my favorite fighter on the card is the most expensive fighter on the card, Aaron Blanchfield. So, Big Marley, we've talked about this, but, every now and again, there comes around a fight where I don't see a path to a loss for the fighter outside of some weird, freaky eye poke, ACL, torn kind of weirdness, right? And that's kind of the way I feel about this one. Not because JJ Aldrich is a worse striker than Aaron Blanchfield, but I just don't see any way. Blanchfield is basically a female Khabib. Listen, it sounds cheesy to say it, but that's her fighting style, and she pulls it off. I love her wrestling, and I love how relentless she is about it. Reminds me of early career Colby before he maybe developed his really solid striking. So I don't see a path to a win here for Aldrich. As a matter of fact, 7 takedowns against Miranda Maverick. Look for more of that. Look for a massively high-scoring winner here. It's going to be hard to squeeze her into lineups, but we're going to try to make it happen. My first pick is Aaron Blanchfield.
Yeah, that would have been my first pick as well. If she's going to dominate that fight like the odds indicate, then she's going to be going for takedown. She's had over 10 minutes of top control time in her first 2 UFC fights. She's a legit young prospect, has title aspirations. I could see her getting the belt within the next couple of years. So, yeah, that would have been the first pick for me as well.
Throws you off because she is by far and away the best pick on the card.
Yeah, the only issue is that she's 9,600, so it's going to be hard to afford her. I'm not going to be able to go all in. But, yeah, definitely the easiest pick in a 3v3. So I was going to go with an underdog just to lock in, the best one. But there's a couple that I'm okay with. So I'm not going to lock that in quite yet. I'm going to go with the other big high scorer in this one. We got Jeff Molina. In his first fight, he won a decision, and he scored 131 DraftKings points. He did have 2 knockdowns in that fight, but if you take those away, he still scores 111, and that's probably on the nuts as well. I just love the high pace from this guy. I think this fight will mainly take place on the feet. He's got some poor takedown defense, so I think Zuma Gulov can have success with takedowns. I just don't think he's going to be able to submit or hold Molina down. I just expect Molina to get back to his feet and win this fight on the feet, and he just picks up the pace as the fight moves along. I think maybe the first round will be close, and then he just takes over after that. And I think he could put up another 100+ points here, even if it does go to a decision with his high volume. So I'm going to go with Jeff Molina as my first pick.
I like that pick as well. I think it's a little bit surprising of a pick, Big Marley.
There's a couple others I was okay with as well, but I'm on this card. I don't really care who you pick. I feel like I can make a good 3 no matter what on this card.
I don't like the very big. It's actually hard to make an actual fittable DraftKings lineup because the very, very sort of cheap guys are tricky. I do have one that I like, but since I'm able to pick first and I'm trying to win, I'm actually going to go for my underdog. And there's a couple I could go with here, but I'm going to go with Johnny Munoz, taking on Tony Gravely. And the main reason I'm thinking Munoz is he is a grappler. I think he's going to put up resistance against Gravely. Gravely's great. I love his style. I love that he goes for spam takedowns, and he might adjust a little bit. But what I've seen from him in the past is, when you go crazy going for 4 takedowns in the first round, what ends up happening is you get a little tired. And especially those type of guys, when they go up against a fellow grappler that resists, they can get a little tired. So I think that Johnny Munoz can make a push late in that fight and potentially get his own takedown, get a submission against a slightly gassed Gravely in the third round. So because I see a lot of grappling potential upside in this fight, and I'm picking him to win, I'm going with Johnny Munoz as my underdog.
I like it. I just don't think I think he's reliant on the submission for the majority of his points on DraftKings because Gravely's the better wrestler. I think Gravy's the better striker, the more powerful striker. Munoz maybe a higher output on the feet, but it's a lot of kicks. And I would just say that he's the better grappler. So he could get a submission in any round, but I don't know that he's going to be the one landing the takedowns to score much before that submission takes place. So he wasn't one of the underdogs I was eyeing, but I will definitely have some Munoz exposure because I think he's live for a first round submission. I'm gonna go with there's so many favorites on the card I'm fine with. I don't really want too much Evloev, who was the next highest priced guy. I think it'll be a little tougher fight than the odds indicate, but I do like him to get the win. So I'm gonna go right below him to I don't even know the guy's first name, but Fakhretdinov.
Yeah, Rinat Fakhretdinov. Good pick.
UFC debut here. He looks solid to me. He's a Russian guy. I think he could dominate this fight on the ground or the feet, really. I expect a knockout here. He's minus 110 inside the distance. Michelitis has been TKO'd 5 times already in his career, and I could see him getting TKO'd on the feet or with ground and pound in this one. So I like Fakhretdinov here. I think he scores over 10x, probably 100+ points, and I think he can get it done in round 1 as well. If he doesn't get it done in round 1, man, Michelitis just slows down, and I feel like it'll just get even easier after that. And maybe even in a decision, this guy can mop up ground points and score 100+ points. So I'm going to go with Fakhretdinov.
Yeah, I really love that choice. Fakhretdinov, man, you can search high and low. There is not a single fight with this guy against a reasonable opponent or even an opponent that we can watch the fight and be like, oh, okay, he's decent. There's no evidence. So you have to actually watch his style and, the name, and he just looks like any other Chechenian, Dagestani style fighter, and he fights just like the rest of them. So it's just like a random assumption that he's probably good. He's looked good against the worst of the worst. Man, it's amazing how many 0-0 guys they found to pile up a record for this kid. So somehow he's able to be, he's able to have like a 20 and whatever kind of record, but it was all 0-0 and 0-1 type fighters. So it's hard to know.
I still got to watch some more on him, but the couple fights that I did see, I thought he looked all right.
He looked good.
I guess it's going to be easy to look good against that competition.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's you could watch all the tape you want, but when you're watching tape of guys going up, like for me, I have a hard time if I'm watching tape against a guy going up against a bunch of 0-0 guys, and then when you look at the 5-0 guys that he fought, they also compiled it against 0-0 guys. So you're like, oh wow, yeah, he was 5-0, but he got his 5 wins against 0-0. So you always want to try to find like, oh, how did this guy look against a real opponent? But you rarely see it. All right. I am going with a little bit of risk here, Big Marley. A little risky. You might even take you might like the opposite side of this, since you took my Renat pick.
Yeah, I think I might like the opposite side.
You might like the
well,
opposite.
I don't know that I like that, but I might use the opposite side of what I think you're
Yeah,
gonna say.
you might go with the opposite here, which is fine. I get it. But I want minus 700 to end inside the distance odds on my ticket. This, for me, is kind of an all-in fight. It's a less all-in fight than maybe a minus 700 should be, because both of these dudes are super low output, and there is a path to a really shitty score where no one gets knocked out. But I'm going with the favorite, Alonzo Menefield, in his fight against Askar Maskarov. And you know how I just talked about Renat and how he has no fights against anybody of note that we can look at and go, all right, he's good. Feel the same way about Askar. His opponent list is the garbage, the dirtiest of the dirty, the crappiest of the crappy. I was actually just reading on a thread on Twitter where, and I don't have, you know what? I don't even think I should mention it because I haven't verified it. I was quickly reading that there's like a rumor that he had a different name and fought a bunch of, and took a bunch of losses and then changed his name so to erase his previous record. But I was just reading something about that, but I did not get deep enough into it. So what was that? Where was that?
Send that to me if you find it.
Yeah, that was Al Zolino, who put that out there on Twitter. I don't, I'll look it up again. I don't really know too much about it, but there's some rumor that he had a different name before that, pre-neck tats. I don't know. But anyway, my point is, Askar Askarov, his wins have come against garbage. And I'm talking about, like, you cannot find a fight against anybody that's even decent or even better than a complete turd. So Menefield has wins in the UFC. He's looked competent. I don't love him as a fighter. He's extremely flawed, but he's got a lot of power. He has some wrestling, and I think he'll be able to get a takedown here at some point. And Askarov does not seem to have any sort of defense.
Mozarov.
What's
something like that.
I am Maskarov. What did I say? Askar Maskarov. Yeah, I said it. What did I say? Askarov?
Askarov was in a much smaller weight class.
Askar Maskarov. They all sound the same. I'm going with Alonzo Menefield, USA, to get it done.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the Menefield side of that. I mean, neither one of them are very good, but they're both killers. I mean, this Mozarov guy's got 19 of his 21 wins coming in like the first round. But yeah, it is all people picked out of the crowd, basically. His competition looked some of the worst I've ever seen on film. And it's not that this guy looks good, but he throws heat. And his leg kicks do look really good. I like his leg kicks, but that's going to leave him open to be knocked out. His punches are very wild. Most of his fights, like, he's just going out there brawling, throwing these wild hooks nonstop and just being the one that connects because the other guy sucks. I don't see that going well for him against Menefield. However, if this Mozarov guy wins, he's going to score 100+ points. So I'm going to put him on my team because not only would that help my team, but it'll also dismantle yours if
yes.
Menefield goes out there.
This is a killer. This is a killer blow for trying to win this thing. But I think this is the way to go. I'm going to give. Can I give honorable mention to one fighter?
Sure, if you'd like to.
I'm giving honorable mention to Damon Beatdown Jackson. He was the other choice. I just wanted to emphasize, and Jackson is going to win his fight, unlike Menefield, which is like more of a question mark. The reason I went with Menefield is because I just want to emphasize this fight is pretty one we want to have a lot of exposure to. This one looks like it's going to be this one looks like violence. So, for that reason alone, and let's just take a look at Maskarov's like competition level just to
I mean, if this guy doesn't connect with something heavy in like the first round, though, I just don't see any other path to victory. Like, this guy is not very good. He tapped his strikes in one of his recent fights. Like, he's kind of a pussy. Like, he's a way better hammer than nail. But he throws mean kicks, and his punches, he's trying to knock their head off too. So, like, he's going to be a killer be killed fighter in every single one of his fights. So they're all going to be, all in DraftKings type fights.
100%. And again, listen. Has Menefield shown great in the UFC? No, but he's pretty tough. He's a tougher dude, And I think if he can weather the early storm, I think it's going to be Maskarov that is going to be gassed even towards the end of the first round. Forget about and that's one thing we haven't seen an issue from out of Menefield. He seems to have a perfectly fine gas tank. He's just a little bit lower output because he's all muscled and not the fastest of guys. But, you know, that'll help him absorb those punches. But my honorable mention is Damon beat down Jackson because
he's not even in the DraftKings list now, but he'll be 9,500.
Yeah, I was like, where? That's why I'm not seeing him on the list here. That's why, like, it went like, had he been here, I certainly would have chosen him as the safer pick if we're able to spend all the salary. But the reality is what you just said. You cannot make a real lineup this week where you had, for example, Blanchfield and any one of those guys. Forget about both of them. You probably wouldn't be able to pull off a Blanchfield Renat lineup, but you definitely aren't getting those two and Damon Jackson in there. So to keep it more real.
Yeah, so, it's an all-in fight. So I was going to take whatever side you didn't end up taking on that one. But to recap it, you got Blanchfield, Munoz, and Menefield. And I got Molina, Fakhretdinov, and Mozarov.
Let's see if we can hit that. No, it definitely does not.
Definitely not.
It does not turn into a lineup. But
and we wouldn't want it in a lineup either since we got the stack going anyway.
That is true. So there we go. Good luck this week, everybody. Keep in mind, Big Marley and I will be back on Friday for DFS Army VIPs.
Thursday, I'm going to be on the beach Friday.
Oh, all right. Thursday, a little early run. Yeah. I'm down. I'm ready to roll. So we will be back Thursday for DFS Army VIPs with the full kill shot breakdown, with our kill shots, with everything. Last week, my kill shot.
Hughes, like 120 points or something right out of the gates.
First fight of the night, 40%. Took down the tournament. That's always fun. So let's see what we come up with by Thursday for the kill shot. And of course, if you enjoy this video, make sure you hit the like button for us and give us your 3 favorite picks in the comment section below. Let's see if you could beat Big Marley. Get 2 favorites and an underdog. Let's see if you could beat the Geek. Let's see if you could beat Big Marley. Give us your 2 favorites and an underdog in the comment section here. And, you know, we'll take a look and see how you did. You compare yourselves to the big dogs.
Hell yeah.
The big dogs. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you guys next time. MMA Quick Picks. Deuces.
Good luck.